Do you really want to leave anything to chance as you get older and move forward? We talk about that and much more on this episode of The Crude Truth.
In 1901, at Spindletop Hill near Beaumont, the future of Texas changed dramatically as, like a fountain of fortune, thousands of barrels of oil burst from the earth towards the sky. Soon, Detroit would be cranking out Model Ts by the millions, and America was on the move, thanks to the black gold being produced in Texas. Now, more than a century later, the vehicles are different, but nothing else has truly changed. Sure, there may be many other alternative energy sources like wind and solar and electric. But let's be honest, America depends on oil and entrepreneurs, and if the USA is truly going to be independent, it has to know the crude truth.
This episode is brought to you by LFS Chemistry. We are committed to being good stewards of the environment. We are providing the tools so you can be too. NAPE Expo, where deals happen. Air Compressor Solutions. When everything is on the line, Air Compressor Solutions is the dependable choice to keep commercial business powered up. Sandstone Group. Exec Crew. Elevate your network, elevate your knowledge. Texas Star Alliance. Pecos Country Operating. Fueling our future.
Well, good morning, hello, and thank you as always, whatever time of the day it is. Thank you as always for tuning into another episode of The Crude Truth. As we continue our just another fortunate and epic year, which is 2024, by this time you've already prepared and done your taxes, or maybe you're already done an extension, or by the time, who knows when it is, but hey, taxes are right around the corner, or they just happened. And for a lot of people that really understand, taxes are year-round. But today to discuss really not necessarily taxes, but how to plan, and also, as in my teaser, leaving things to chance, because when we do that, we actually spend more money than we need to. I brought on an amazing guest today, somebody that I've had the ability to meet out in Houston at other big financial events, someone that brings real quality to taking and helping you save and grow your money. Somebody also that has such an in-tune, in-depth with the finance game. And, oh, by the way, she is Ms. Texas International 2022. My guest today is Tinja Anderson. Tinja, how are you?
Hi, you're so good. Very happy to be here.
Oh, my God.
Thank you for all the kind words.
Well, just be sure to put the check in the mail.
There you go.
There you go. But no, for real. I mean, you are a freaking, I want to use the word savant in a way, if I may.
Thank you.
And I know you've used it in other ways for other individuals, but I think when people actually get to sit down, discuss things with you, and then maybe even hear just a little bit of your background, it's like, what a savant you are in the game of the finance world, and really that generational wealth and generational legacy. And then also the fact that, come on, you were just, a year ago, Ms. Texas International.
I love that you're getting it right. Thank you. I am currently the United States of America's Ms. Houston.
Yes, that's right. And that's where we did have the chance to meet. So thank you very much for coming up to Dallas.
Yes.
And I know
happy to be here.
It's always fun to get the rivalry between Houston and Dallas. So for you to come up, thank you so much. I hope the drive wasn't too bad.
It was eventful.
Well, look, I just want to start off. And for those out there that don't know you, please dive in and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a financial planner. I'm a certified exit planning advisor. I also still run my family's consultancy, doing strategic sales communications consulting. My mission currently is to basically just educate, empower, and advocate for business owners simply on the power of now with regard to strategic financial planning. I was raised inside that consultancy, so I know firsthand how important it is to get it right, from a comprehensive, proactive approach to leaving nothing to chance associated with the business, the team, the family, the legacy. I've spent 15 years in consulting, in the last 5 in financial planning, and so it's mission critical to get it right. And then adding that additional credential of the CEPA to tie those two worlds together really has just been paramount to getting it right for high net worth business owners. You mentioned taxes, but we're looking at it from a holistic, comprehensive perspective. Right. So what I like to say is to simplify it, because we're basically organizing somebody's financial junk drawer and identifying all of the goals and objectives and the time horizon in order to mitigate whatever risks associated with that. But a lot of times what's happening is the challenges associated with the actual exit of when a business owner decides, okay, I'm done. I want to retire. And it's usually 2 to 3 years out. And that doesn't give us enough runway to maximize and harvest that wealth that's already inside the business. So for me, it's just something that my family, I like to refer to my family's approach as like a legacy of excellence. Mm-hmm. We leave nothing to chance. Like, you leave everything that you touch better than how you found it.
Well, I do like that. I do believe also that hopefully you can leave things better than you found them. And I've done that all my life just because I did the Boy Scouts of America. And so it's always, did you leave your campsite, cleaner than what
Yeah.
So I get that. But also I'm glad you brought up CEPA and the paramount of bringing those two together, because a lot of people out there don't understand how important it is that, that they've got, I'm going to, several $1 million and they're looking at an exit, how much of that they may be losing or, in things of that realm. And I know that, a lot of the times right now, the economy is not the strongest it's been, but we do have a lot more millionaires than we have in a long time. And we do have a lot more importantly, business owners and entrepreneurs that at some form or fashion are going to be exiting. And, we have an administration right now, I don't want to jump on it, but it's already talking about adding more taxes, whether that's during it or when you sell. So not to jump on the tax side of it, but there are a lot of things that you can do. And, right now, just, what was it that, I know you mentioned, trying to leave things better. Was that something that inspired you to do this or what was it?
I actually got recruited into finance.
Did you really?
My parents retired. They did not have a great handoff for me. It was 2017, so down cycle in oil and gas. So they spent 35 years in oil and gas primarily, but, also in the finance world on the consulting side. Mm-hmm. And 2017 happened. Schlumberger bought out our primary client, and they took everybody off the AVL.
Oh, wow.
And so I had to decide. They gave me the intellectual property, right? My mom's a PhD in communication, a neuro-linguistic expert. We have a proprietary negotiations model. She has a quadrant model, so just like DISC, but more adaptable, easier to understand, and easier to integrate. But they're like, here's our intellectual property. You can do whatever you want with it. Oh, by the way, we just lost our primary client. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do as far as, do I build this consultancy under my umbrella and figure out what that actually looks like without a primary client. So now I got to go network. I was doing 80 hours in 4 days, recover on a plane, do it again the next week. So I had no true network outside of like our global client. And so it was like, all right, we get to go like understand who Houston is. And then I ended up doing some small contract work, doing like 2-minute pitch, body language boot camp, and building out the pitches for one of these advanced planning firms. Uh-huh. And I really liked what we were building. I liked who they were serving. So again, high net worth and business owners, and focused on understanding how to leave a legacy, but also how to maximize their spend in retirement. So it's understanding how to protect the value of the business, maximize the value, understanding how to protect the personal financial readiness, but then it's what does life look like after business? So I got recruited in, and they basically wouldn't let me say no. But I loved it so much because it speaks to the heart of, in the consulting world, it is about business optimization. It is about understanding the value proposition development. And then it is the executive coaching side of it. So moving into the personal side was really actually challenging because I didn't realize how personal and emotional like money truly is when it's in this context. Yeah. That's why people leave it until 2 to 3 years out from retirement, which is extremely challenging to maximize that harvest. Literally, statistically speaking, 80% of a business owner's wealth is tied up into a business.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. So if you can't time your exit effectively, literally only 20% of companies that go to sell actually sell.
Whoa.
Yep.
What happened to the other one?
Your guess is good. Am I orderly liquidation, internal buyout that's not super effective, gifting strategies. So very, very, very challenging, especially in this day and age, since all the baby boomers are getting ready to retire and pass the baton. Huge tax implication associated with that. So my team, I work with specialists across the country, some of the top in the field that specialize on advanced tax strategies, some in the qualified space, but also on the premium financing side of things.
Well, then we definitely would have. Yeah, we
that was a lot of words.
I was about to take a drink, and then we may have to talk about this, and just from what I get it now.
Yeah,
I get it.
You do.
I do. Wow.
I love it.
You know, when
what do you get?
The transition is, and then I mean it in. I can't even say that word anymore. Anyway, that's all. But that the passing of the baton.
Yeah.
Between us is going to be more strategic than, hey, here you go, I'm walking out the door, even though my office is staying there. I'm talking about my dad.
Yeah.
Within our oil and gas, within our oil and gas company. So, and that kind of, mentioning my father there, when I reached out to you, I said, hey, you obviously you've got such a presence on LinkedIn. You've got your marketing. I want to get back to that marketing in your boot camp in a minute.
Got it.
But I said, I want you to talk about legacy wealth, legacy assets. And I said, I'm in the oil and gas industry. A lot of people like the word legacy. And you're like, it's generational. And so I apologize. And I actually really like that a lot better. I was at an event, and it's like, you know what? I'm trying to make this generational. It's like, not just a legacy. Legacies are, I feel like that's J.R. Ewing with the old Dallas show. That's a legacy. Like, remember that show? Oh, God, it was so great. Real generational is the Moncriefs of the world or the Basses or the Hunts, who it's like, look at, or even the Waltons. Look at what they've done for a generation. Yes. And so can we dive about it?
Yeah. It's something that's near and dear to my heart because it gets to understanding culture and understanding the family's culture. So generational wealth isn't just about creating buckets of money to pass on. It's about also creating the skill sets and understanding what you want to have happen. So it's like understanding the goals and objectives of the family, but then equipping those that are going to inherit those buckets of money tax efficiently. Yeah. How do they continue to build that wealth? Yeah. It's not just about letting, I oftentimes come into contact with trust funds. Right. And they just literally keep that $10 million sitting in a trust fund that skips generations. And they never actually optimize the funds that are in it. It's just something that was built. Grandpa wants to pass the baton, pay for some grandkids' education, and it just continues to just sit there. Whether or not it's properly diversified or optimized inside of that trust or investment account is really challenging. That is not generational wealth in the context of being optimized or proactive or creating a legacy of excellence.
Golly, your knowledge and the confidence and everything that you're talking about, it just blows me away. And with that being said, when I really think about it, it's like, how are you educating your clients about how important this is and things like that?
I love it. So again, I partner with specialists across the country that are unique in the different solutions that we're providing. So up front, when we're onboarding a client, it's really that gap analysis side of things to understand that word's so overplayed, but from the comprehensive side of things, like 2 questions. Yeah. What matters to them? What do they want to have happen to their stuff? Okay. Then we do the whole risk analysis and figure out where are their gaps, major risks, and then I bring in the right specialists to assist in solving what those are. And there's some very creative ways for us to do that. A lot of times when I meet with people, they're like, oh, I have a tax attorney. I'm good. Oh, I'm really happy with my CPA and accountant. Like, we're buttoned up. Yeah. We're harvesting our losses. And I'm like, but you have a tax problem. Like, your losses are not going to carry forward into infinity. So how do we strategically start thinking about minimizing that tax burden to be able to take 5, 6, 7, 8-figure income tax deductions, to be able to have tax advantaged income distributions 10 years from now and maximize what that the transfer of assets looks like from an estate planning standpoint.
See, and that's where I want to just go back to how it's so cool how you're bringing so many things together, and that your education that you have does that. It's like you just brought in, hey, basically, how are we going to get you to retire? We're going to save on taxes. Oh, and by the way, we're also going to get you 10 years from now, tax-free revenue every month in some form of retirement.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the job of 6 or 8 people right there. And you guys, now you have a team like that, but that's what you see. And that's where I really believe, again, how you as a savant are able to do these things. No, I mean that. I really, really do.
I'm the dumb one in the family. Please remember this. Like, I am the dumb one in the family. So
and I do want to highlight that you are actually first generation American.
I am. My father immigrated here in wooden clogs.
Yes.
At 16. Yeah.
Literally.
Yes.
Sweden.
Sweden.
Yes. I cannot believe that.
So born in Hong Kong.
But he's Sweden. I love it.
But because of the political environment post World War II, everybody who wasn't Chinese had to get out of Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So ended up in Sweden, and took them 13 years to immigrate to the United States. Met my mom in high school in wooden clogs that as soon as he immigrated here. So they went to prom together. So, yeah.
What a story.
Yeah.
Well, dive in, and I want to kind of back up here. And real quick, how can people reach you just here in the middle of our show today on how to reach you for financial planning?
Yeah. So really easy to find. There's not too many Tinjas. I'm on LinkedIn, so Tinja Anderson, and then Instagram as well for my personal brand side of things.
Well, kind of want to discuss that a little bit. And I also, obviously, I didn't highlight you being Ms. Texas International for no reason, but you also have a great coaching group that you do yourself.
Yeah.
And, coaches are more and more important today than they ever have because we've lost mentors, I believe.
Yeah.
And now we've got coaches because people are not just taking people under the wings like they used to.
Hold on. I want to, before we move on to coaching, I do want to just round out the educational side of things because compliance is totally going to make a note. So because I'm a financial planner, we're heavily regulated by SEC and FINRA. And so making sure that we're adhering to Reg BI, which is Regulation Best Interest, the client has to understand what the recommendations are. So no matter what we do, like you can't just trust me and execute, like you have to understand what the strategy is. So education is mission critical to anything that we do. So that from a compliance hat standpoint, we can talk about coaching now.
Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all don't think Tinja crosses her T's and dots her I's, we're on it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So
consulting.
Consulting.
It's not coaching. Well, I mean, it can be considered coaching because it is executive level coaching, but it is more robust on the consulting side because it's a much more gap analysis, value prop build out than just straight coaching. It's small group dynamics, so it's not really one-on-one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, what happened to you, like teaching people how to be in
the presentation? Yeah. Okay.
Thing?
So
I'm confused.
Strategic sales communications consulting.
Strategic sales communications consulting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So there's a lot to unpack there. Essentially, in layman's terms, it's business optimization. So consulting is such a broad term, and everybody says they're a consultant, and nobody knows what that means. I follow a really funny account on Instagram, like consulting memes, consulting humor. And I'm like, no, I'm not Deloitte. But no, it's essentially when I'm brought in to understand how to take a company, their sales force, and they're right now struggling to be able to negotiate a value proposition, define the value proposition, and then increase sales. So capture more spend with an existing customer or capture more market share just in their territory. If they haven't properly built out what their strategic dashboard looks like, so vision, mission, KPIs, critical strategies, and your sales force cannot tell the story of why whoever the company is, then it's very, very challenging to get them to be able to persuade.
Wow.
But it's also just, have you built out a value calculator to competitively differentiate? And if you haven't, then that's a baseline. But yeah. So,
What?
Yeah.
If I haven't what?
built out a value calculator. So are we savings, efficiency gains, risk mitigation, logistical constraint reduction, CapEx reduction, OpEx reduction? Like, what are we doing to competitively drive value for your customer? But also ultimately, like, looking at it from the end user standpoint of how do we create value for our customer to drive value for their customer? And then where does this decision get made? And so we're building out value propositions for whatever point of entry that looks like, so that they have a streamlined approach to actually get a yes a lot faster. And most of the time, if you're going to procurement, you're never going to get the sale.
Yeah.
So you got to get into the right room.
Yeah.
And you got to say the right things. And so as far as like the persuasive presentation coaching side of things, that's where the neurolinguistics comes from. Yeah. So my mom, again, she taught debate. She taught at Harvard Law for their trial advocacy for any opening argument. She also taught communications at MIT. My mom had me do my first public speech contest at 9. It was traumatizing, not going to lie.
Well,
but yeah, so I mean, like the alignment of what you say and how you say it and how you command your space is literally what makes or breaks did the audience actually hear what you said? Did they believe what you said? And did you drive credibility to make sure that it stayed with what, 2 weeks from now, are they going to remember what you said?
I freaking should have definitely talked to you about my speech then. But that's another subject. Holy cow. Okay, let's get back to your mom putting you into this speech at 9 years old.
Oh, yeah, traumatized.
Okay, traumatized. Okay, but
I highly recommend if you have kids, put them to the Optimist Club for the speech contests.
Okay.
Yes.
Why?
Because they do a topic every single year, and then there's scholarships associated with winning.
Oh,
yeah,
very cool.
Another reason why I like pageants is because of the public speech side of it.
Well, and that's where we were going next on this, because being Ms. Texas International, I keep making
2022.
2022, yes. That's a new thing for you.
Totally,
right?
yeah.
Okay, that's why I really wanted to bring it up, because as I told you earlier, I've had on Miss America 2023 before, and and so she kind of it was but you just almost woke up one morning in a way.
Yes. So yes and no. So I when I was real little, like baby status, my nanny put me into a couple pageants.
Nanny, folks.
Nanny, because my parents worked 80 hours in 4 days and recovered on the plane and turned around and did it again. But no, I'm very grateful for the experience. I was Little Miss San Diego, and then my dad had none of that and put me on an all-guys soccer team. So there we go. But no, I was finishing out a buy-sell with a client who was a former Mrs. USA, amongst a whole other slew of titles that she's held. Probably one of the most dynamic women that I've ever met. I jokingly asked her, I was like, what would it take? Like, what would it take for me to compete?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I have a baseline skill set, but there's a difference between like peak performance in pageantry versus having a baseline skill set.
Yeah.
So I finished out my marathon. So this was at year end. Okay. Was going to run a marathon like 3 weeks later. I needed to get through that before I could even start training for this pageant, or even just like conceptually understanding what the commitment actually was.
Yeah.
She put me through a 6-week boot camp.
Okay.
Interview is a art form. It's a science and an art. My most challenging part was learning how to walk, because I'm an athlete. So being graceful in gowns on stage, and like there's a whole art form associated with how you are evaluated.
Okay.
Yes, it's all about confidence and how you carry yourself, and that whole side of things. But there is like a right way to do it, and each pageant has a different preference. So like for different types of walks and posing. So it's understanding what the system is, what kind of judging you have, and then the other scoring is fitness, and then fun fashion, which is fun, and an on-stage question. So it was a lesson in grace.
Okay.
Like that for me was obviously I went out there and I won, but that year was so profound for me because I served over 15 different nonprofits on top of my platform, which was celiac awareness at the time. So I wrote a cookbook. I served as an ambassador for Beyond Celiac. But the funds that we raised with the rest of the organizations was really profound. But yeah, so it's like the whole being a servant to your community was like probably the soul part of the pageantry that I really I wasn't expecting how powerful that was going to be.
So wait, that was your first pageant you ever did?
Yes.
And you won?
Well, besides being a baby, but yes.
But the one you did when you were a baby too?
Yes.
You won?
Yes, I won multiple. And then I wore the wrong socks for one of them and I lost the big one.
You wore the wrong socks?
Somebody brought the wrong socks. It was the 80s, okay?
Well, you really get done running a marathon.
Yeah.
And a year later, you win Miss...
No, 6 weeks later.
Wait, you won 6 weeks later?
Yes.
You won? Who in the... All right. Holy cow.
But this year is like a whole nother level.
Yeah, because now you're technically what? What's your new title right now?
United States of America's Ms. Houston 2024.
Yes. Right.
But it's a different system. This one involves a swimsuit, which is like a whole nother level of fitness. So we're gonna have to get disciplined. But yeah.
But I guess so. After you did that one, though, you did go, I guess, compete for the Houston one.
So the Ms. So there's like three
I'm just
different.
saying, it seems like a lot of winning going on.
There's a lot of winning. Then there's yes.
And I mean, again, kind of going back to the savant. I mean, it just blows me away. It just completely ridiculous. Holy cow! I mean, what else is there? I mean, and you also teach people how to like publicly speak a little bit, right?
That's not my day job, but yes, I do.
Your day job. Yeah.
So I prefer small group dynamics.
Yes.
Behavior modification is much more powerful in a small group rather than one-on-one. So if you're going to it's the theory of constructivism. Okay, so constructivism. So creating your own understanding of the information so that you can actually execute and adapt your behavior so that it's yours. Right. So I'm going to teach something complex. You have to hear it, you have to try it on, but you also have to see somebody else go through the process, and you're going to pick up other things that you hadn't experienced in your own situation. And so you just holistically, I'm going to overuse that word, but it's just an amalgamation of understanding to adapt your behavior more effectively.
Wow. So, like, give me an example of what you do with those people.
We put them through the firing line. We endearingly call it the firing line. So anybody who's ever taken any of our winning words, they have to. It's like a badge of honor. Like they earn their stripes. Yeah. They survived the firing line. So once we've built out their baseline value prop, then they have to get up in front of their executives and give a 2-minute synopsis, and then they wait. And we go through every single difficult situation, everything from a silent audience, egos, multiple interactions, hidden agendas, off-topic questions, aggressors, contrarians, pricing challenges, they just don't like you, resume challenges, any type of scenario, ethics, right? Like in oil and gas, you can't do business just like, all right, quid pro quo. Yeah. So it's like we put them through the firing line. They get 25 minutes in the hot seat, but then they have to watch everybody go through it as well. And then I start giving them cue cards to start coaching on the negotiations model. So how do we overcome and handle objections to position to a win with the back end? So it's based off of the Rogerian theory of decision tree analysis, which is basically just a really complex way of saying how people make decisions. So that's our proprietary negotiations model. There's very few sales models that don't stem from that original research. So yeah. Did that mean? I feel like I answered the question, but I don't know.
Of course you answered the question. I mean, shoot. I think wife got all that. Yeah. Well, I'm a producer wife. He got it all. So it's good. It's all right.
But yeah.
Wow. What? Okay. What else do you do, for goodness sakes? Is there anything that I don't know? I mean, we can discuss. I mean, I mean, there's so much.
I feel like we talked on the finance side, but yeah,
I feel like that's all in some form or fashion. I feel like whether it was talking about the financing, which again, as I always tell my guests, it's like, hey, I want to talk about what you do for a living, promote you.
Yeah.
But we get into your side hustle. That's about basically financial stuff. We talk about how you being a pageant lady, woman, winner. I don't know.
I'm a queen. Thank you.
Queen. Oh, a queen.
I have a crown.
And you got it just the other day, right?
I got the new one, yes.
Yes, look pretty good.
It's great.
Yeah. But all these things tie into the success that you have for your clients.
Yes.
Like all of it does.
Absolutely.
And so that's what really blows me away with today's episode is how you are able to do so many things and yet they all continue to elevate.
Yes.
And that's the crude truth.
I don't win unless my clients win, and I hate to lose. No, I don't very often.
Holy cow. Jeez Louise.
This is fun.
I told you. It's a good time. I cannot thank you enough for coming up to Dallas.
Thank you for having me.
And I mean, again, for everybody out there that wants to get in contact with you and your team, how can they reach you guys?
Tinja, Tinja at financialguide.com. I also have a website, a landing page, so I'll make sure that gets put in there.
What we can do is we can put that on the whenever we get these fun little bars at the bottom of our names or something like that. I don't know if is it there right now? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe we'll, I don't know. Maybe it is. We'll let the editing team take care of that. But no, Tinja, again, I cannot thank you enough for coming on. We're gonna have to have you come back on because we didn't even talk about politics or anything like that and how that can probably sway things left or right when it comes to generational wealth.
Yes. My job is to maneuver depending on what the politics are. So that it is what it is. So ultimately, with an election, they want the market to look good. So it's curious, but the tax side of things is a very challenging situation.
Oh, okay.
But we don't want to talk about politics right now.
Talk about what?
Politics.
No, I've never heard of that. Don't know what it is. Well,
don't get me started. God bless Texas.
Amen to that. Well, Tinja, again, thank you so much. Anybody out there that wants to connect with Tinja or her team about generational wealth, please reach out to her. And good luck on your next endeavor for 2024 as Miss USOA, United States of America pageant.
USOA, yes.
So just thank you all again for listening to another episode of The Crude Truth.
Again, The Crude Truth would like to thank today's sponsors: LFS Chemistry, NAPE Expo, Air Compressor Solutions, Sandstone Group, Exec Crew, Texas Star Alliance, Pecos Country Operating, and Real News Communication Network.
The easiest way to start your own podcast and TV show? Real News Communications Network. Stand out from your competition. Produce streams of high-quality social media content. Become a thought leader in your industry. With RNCN, you get to be the host. We handle everything else. Tour one of our 3 locations in Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Colony. Call 972-402-6333 or visit launchashow.com to find out more.